Hello, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to speak about Britball. So I have mentioned Britball before, and I kind of just want to go into depth on what Britball is, what I've done in it, and what I'm still doing with Britball. So Britball is a blanket term on American football in Britain. So you have teams in Scotland, you have teams in Wales, you have teams in England, and it's all managed by kind of the governing body, which is BAFA, the British American Football Association. And it's kind of broken into four types of kind of competition. So you have adult ball, you have your uni ball, you have youth ball, and then you have ladies football as well. I'm going to speak about the two that I'm aware of and that I've had time to kind of participate in. So you have adult ball and you have uni ball. So adult ball, exactly what it sounds like. It's adult competition. What I would liken it to in America is probably your semi-pro. So I'm from South Florida. You go to the local park, you have semi-pro teams where you have guys who have played in college, who've played in high school, don't play anymore, who still want to kind of play American football. That's kind of how it is with adult ball. You have three tiers of adult ball. So you have the Prem, you have Div 1, and you have Div 2. So the Prem teams will be London, Bristol, Manchester, those kind of teams with bigger cities with more people, so that you can build a program, you can get more funding, more players, more coaches. So those would be the teams you kind of find in the Prem. I think the last Brit Bowl was, I want to say it was the London Warriors versus Manchester. I think it was. The Titans, I believe it was. So it just shows you kind of the level of who's at the top. The middle tier, Div 1, is where I played. So I played for the Portsmouth Dreadnoughts. Portsmouth is a medium kind of city. So you'll find Portsmouth. You'll find the Southampton team, which is Solent Thrashers, in there. You find teams that are closer but to the outskirts of London. So you do have Rushmore in it when I was in there. Bristol has two teams. So Bristol has a team which are in the Prem, so that's the Aztecs, and then you have the Apache, which is their B team, which is in Div 1. That just shows you how much football is played in Bristol. And then you have Div 2. So what Div 2 will be is Div 2 will be the teams that have enough players to put together a squad, but not enough players or kind of funding to get to that next level. So I think the minimum amount of players you can have in Britball is 25. So usually in Div 2, you'll find teams that have about 30 to 35 players who want, they can compete, but they just don't have the depth or the backing to get into that Div 1. And then Div 1 is kind of the same. So Div 1, you might have your 40, 50 players, but you don't have star athletes. You can't really get all of the great players like you can from the London teams. And then the premise is you got the best players. You got the best players, the best funding, so you can do a little bit more. So that's how adult ball is. I played that for 6 years. I played from 2018 to now. Well, not to now, to last year. I played last year, so it was fun. I am in my 30s, and I was still quite competitive. Like I said, it's just like semi-pro, so it is fun to play. It's not it's not just lounging about. It is competitive. In the second tier, so I'm wearing Stags merch. So in the second tier, you have uni ball, so university ball. Most universities may have some form of American football. So in this region, Bournemouth University have a football team. You have two Southampton teams, but I'll go into depth in a little bit. And then you have the Portsmouth team. So I played for the Southampton Stags. This jersey in the back. It's not my jersey. It's one that I was kind of gifted as a coach. So I played for them. I was the president, and now I am the offensive coordinator for the team. The tiering system is similar to adult ball. You had your Prem, you had your Div 1, and then you had your Div 2. Now, last year, what they created was kind of a super Prem. I forget what they call it, like an elite division. What was happening was you had teams who had sports focus, and they were able to kind of get a year abroad for former athletes from America and abroad and in Europe. like your Nottingham University was doing it. University of the West of England, UWE, were doing it. So what BAFA did and what Bucks did was kind of so Bucks is the British university sports kind of body. They work under they have their own structure, but they kind of work under the rules of BAFA. It's kind of a weird setup. But what BAFA and Bucks did was they put those teams in their own kind of division because it wasn't fair to have guys who played in America, who've played in Europe, playing against guys who've kind of never played before. So that's the thing about Uniball. So what I do as a coach, I get players who've never played before. So when I first started coaching, I think I started coaching offensive line, and I had 4 guys who'd never played American football. So you get guys who may have watched. I mean, you have guys who've never watched, never played. And that's a big kind of where your university, for my university, where it comes from. It's going to be guys who've never played before, because in the UK, you don't have, even though you have youth, it's not like how it is in America where you have PB almost in every city. You have leagues in cities. The youth is kind of regional. So I think we have Solent Seahawks in Southampton. We'll play Poole Dolphins, which is on the other side of Bournemouth, and then they may play somebody, in Kent, which is on the other side of the South. So it's not like every city has a league. It's like every city has a team, and the youth setup, it's not in schools like it is in America. So it's a little bit harder to get guys coming up. So when they get to me, a lot of them have never played before. They might have seen it on TV, or they played rugby. So I have had a lot of players who've played rugby, who I've taught how to play American football. Some of the skills are similar, and they've made some good American football players. The sad thing about being coach, kind of like, how the NCAA is, you have a player for a few years, and by the time they get to that peak, they're gone. They graduated. In the UK, it's actually 3 years for the standard degree, standard bachelor's degree. So you might get 4 if they do a master's, because the master's is a year. And then if you have, medics, or you have engineers, they might stay a little bit longer, but as they progress in their program, they're available less. So yeah, I take guys who've never played before, and I teach them how to play football. So like teaching, when I was 6, how people taught me how to play football. It's kind of what I'm doing every year, and I think I get excited to do that, because I like teaching guys about the sport that I love, that I've played most of my life. The thing that I like is when I take a guy who's played for me in uni, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm playing adult ball." I think that's a big win for me as a coach, because these guys are doing it when they're not getting paid. So I don't get paid to coach. These guys don't get paid to play at university. They don't get paid to play adult ball. In actuality, you have to kind of pay for your own equipment. So you pay subs and do a lot of that as well. So these are guys who actually want to play the game, who want to be involved. And that's what kind of drives football in Britain. And then, as I said, the last 2 levels are your youth levels, and then ladies football. Ladies football is kind of like youth, where you don't have a league, you've just got sporadic teams. So our local team is the Solent Thrashers. They were the Portsmouth Dreadnoughts, but the ladies kind of have to go where they've got the best facilities and where they can get the best equipment. So Portsmouth was kind of suffering for a while, and Solent was on the up, so it made sense for them to kind of align themselves with Solent to get better equipment and such. So that's how it is there. As far as the competition of Britball, it's competitive. Like as I said, these guys might not, have the skill of that you see in the NCAA or you see in the NFL, but they're very passionate about the sport. They definitely want to play. They give 100%, and then that's the only way the sport can grow, if you get guys who are active. Like I've taken guys who, as I said, never thought about American football, just saw us out there playing, and turned them into decent football players. And I think that's Britball. That's how Britball is for the most part. It's just guys who enjoy. As far as kind of our fans, you get kind of the turnout you would get at a semi-pro game. Some days you might get, I've seen 50 people, which I think is big. And some days you might have 20. Or you might just have the loved ones of the players. But as I said, we play the game because we like it. at your bigger games, you might have 100 or more at the games. We do have, as far as Britball, the services also have teams. So the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force have teams. So that's something that was fairly recent. It's not like the Army Navy game in America. It's something that's fairly recent. I have coached for the Navy team as well. I recently, up until recently, I coached for them. They're competitive, like they want to represent their country. They love American football, and I think that's the thing about Britball. It's not as big as the US, but there's a big fan. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the international games. Wembley's mostly sold out. Tottenham Stadium usually sold out. There's a lot of football fans, and a lot of people don't actually realize that a lot of these teams were around for a while. So my team, the Stags, have been around since 1988. A lot of teams have been around since the 80s, when guys like Dan Marino and, the Chicago Bears, they were coming over and, they were kind of doing exhibitions. And that's where a lot of the older guys and the guys who made teams kind of, got their inspiration from. So I would say it's still growing. It's still in its infancy. Even though you say, oh, it's still been 30 years, but for a sport that is not predominant here. So, football and rugby are your predominant sports. With a sport that's not predominant, you do have a lot of American football fans. You have a lot of people that are interested in it, a lot of people that participate, and I think it's a good thing. And hopefully it'll grow, with videos like this, sharing my love for it, sharing my passion for Britball. Hopefully, somebody tunes in. There's YouTube channels like Sports Inc. That do live stream games. If you ever want to look, just Google. You can Google the Southampton Stags. We've been on a couple of Sports Tank streams, and you can see it for yourself. Like I said, it's like semi-pro. It's competitive, and we love it. So thanks for joining me, and hopefully I can share a little bit more about Britball and kind of go into depth in future videos. If you liked it, like and subscribe. And if you want to know more, leave me a comment. All right, see you guys later.